Information hierarchies. A hierarchy is simply a method of organization that implies an order or a sequence. There are several types of hierarchies, and each can influence the way we design apps. The most to least hierarchy, for example, imposes those values in the way that a corporate organization chart might. Most power at the top, least power at the bottom. Note that the relationship is suggested by the direction of the hierarchy, in this case top down. The general to specific hierarchy digs in to various categories, as an apparel product catalog might, from clothes to men's clothes to shirts to dress shirts to specific brands. Note the relationship here is suggested by the context of the hierarchy, same subject but more detail with each step. The sequential hierarchy outlines a process or a set of steps, such as driving directions might. A key point about sequential hierarchy: the user must complete one step before beginning the next. Here's an important question about hierarchies, one that you might be asking as you consider developing apps. Why do we need hierarchies? Are users simply looking for tiny pieces of information or thin sliced experiences such as games? And by the way, won't they just use the search function? Well, yes, usually they are only looking for tiny pieces of information, and sometimes they will just use the search functions. But the organization of your information and the logic of your hierarchies determines how readily and how quickly they can meet their information needs, and in fact determines how well your search function works. You see, your information organization is largely invisible, except as it shows up in navigation aids and search queues, and for that matter, search results pages. But building great hierarchies, great information organization directly drives your users' satisfaction. This is a very important step in your design process. So, which hierarchy shall we build? Well, we'll need to provide hierarchies about your app. That is, its high-level overviews of its functions and capabilities. You'll need to build hierarchies within the app, the actual delivery of the app's information load. And then you'll need to create hierarchies for using the app, which end up in your navigation, support, and help screens. Obviously, our second point, hierarchies within the app, is the big one for us, getting the information organized so that the user can consume it. But the first and the last may have just as much influence on your user's overall experience. After all, what good is an information-loaded app if nobody can use it? So how do we build great hierarchies? Well, it helps to think in terms of categories. Which categories of need or usefulness does your app fulfill? Those are your hierarchies about the app. What categories of information does your app deliver? Those will end up being the hierarchies within the app. Note that every app delivers information, and all information can be classified in categories. For example, does a game have categories? Sure it does. It has levels, player status, tokens, and probably several more. What kinds of information will your user require to operate your app? Categorize that, and it will be your hierarchies for using the app. Now let's think in terms of order. In what order does your app represent information? Greatest to least, as say restaurant reviews, general to specific, like an index or a catalog might, sequential, like a recipe? More important, in what order will your user seek information? Because ultimately, we're building the user's experience. They are the primary priority every step of the way. So what do we do with hierarchies? Well, once you craft them, we'll visualize connections between them. How are they related? We'll develop concise descriptions, and those concise descriptions will apply directly to your navigation system. This is very conceptual, somewhat deep material, and it may be a little challenging, or may not even seem like a natural part of app development. But this is a very, very important step to creating your application. Doing this piece well can create a great user experience. This has been an overview of hierarchies for information design.